Welcome to the visual journal video by Alberto Callejas.
These are the notes for the multiple intelligences, the learning styles, and the universal design for learning. So, starting with the multiple intelligences is the idea that intelligence is multiple. There's people that have different kinds of intelligences. There is the notes. We'll go into that. Each person possesses all eight. Most people can develop each intelligence on an adequate level of competency. Next, moving on to the learning style preferences. It's VARC, it's visual, auditory, reading and writing, and kinesthetic. Different types of learning. Finally, going for the universal design for learning. Arts make learning inclusive, affirming, culturally sustaining, teaching to the edges, needs to all learners identified, supports full inclusion, and prevents need for follow-up instruction, and reduces need for alternate instruction as well. The multiple intelligences have a visual component to them. This is the page that I drew with oil pastel, and it mentions all eight intelligences: naturalistic, visual spacing, intrapersonal, logical, verbal linguistic, interpersonal, bodily kinesthetic, and musical. Notice here at the title, all the letters of multiple are put together because they all overlap, and people possess all eight to different competencies. Goldberg has written many chapters about how to integrate the arts in the classroom. This chapter, chapter 4, was all about how to integrate literacy into the classroom. Here are my notes for the chapter. My partner Isabella and I, we presented this for the class. We taught it back after reading over. Talked about poems, it talked about drama, it talked about music, different ways that you can incorporate literacy, especially through poems. Here's a poem that I wrote about my brother. But the visual representation for this chapter is up above. It's a picto spelling of phone. It's Phone. Phone. Continuing with Goldberg in the arts, we have the notes from Goldberg chapters 6 and 7. Chapter 6 talked about integrating science and the arts. You can do it in painting, using music, poetry, and dance. Scientists and artists are the same in terms of they both draw to expressing self and they ask questions about the world. So we had our project and was the planet book with drawings and facts about the planets. And then we have chapter 7 was the integration of math and the arts. There was different ideas of how you can do that. One of them was integrating clapping and stomping, graphs to draw to scale, music and patterns, drama and story to explain 10 minus 8. You can have like children modeling, like, oh, there's 10 friends and then 8 went away, how many are left? And then you have the dancing shapes activity, which we did not get to do. Next, I will present to you the science and art, the planet book. So here's the planet book that I drew for this activity of Goldberg, chapter 5, integrating science and the arts. The main idea is that basically on every page you draw a picture of a planet and some of the facts about that planet. Hey, I can see my house from here. In a classroom setting, the teacher will provide the facts for the children to write in their books. Now, children don't have to always use colored pencils like I did here, but they can also use various watercolors and other artistic material. During the Goldberg chapters, this one was for chapter 5, the integration of history and art. And the activity was to draw a history of yourself. So I drew for myself my nationalities, what kind of parts I am. I used this was pen, fully pen. And this drawing happened as the activity was occurring live on Zoom, the class. So my nationalities are in the top left. And then I continue with my hometown, Redwood City, California. And I drew this with colored pencils. Oh, the outlines are pen, but then the colors are colored pencil, and you kind of get the idea of movement. And they're using straight lines from a perspective, and then the sign works as you're drawing curves. Next, I have my house here, where I live with my parents, in Mountain View, California, and also drawn with pen outline, and then a colored pencil fill-in, and then I also added bits of depth by gluing pieces of a lavender plant that grows outside of my house, and it smells like lavender every time you step outside. So that is a really interesting link there, using natural materials. Next time we move to my room. This is a drawing of practicing perspective drawing. You can see that this is like as if I'm looking inside my room, using pen and colored pencils, again practicing the perspective. Next, when I transferred to West Valley Community College, this was the best part of that. That was when I played indoor soccer with my friends, and this is visual representation of that. And lastly, when transferring over to San Jose State University, and that is roughly a drawing of what I can make in my mind of the Lurie College of Education at Sweeney Hall at San Jose State, where we are right now. During one class period, we talked about developing literacy in media arts. It's about talking about technology and considering context. This is a relatively new area. And then we moved on to aesthetic valuing. Aesthetic valuing is about asking questions to critique, to talk about art, to make informed discussions about and informed decisions about art. So there's various strategies: looking, reacting, thinking about, making judgments. It's object-oriented learning. So the question for visual thinking strategy and aesthetic valuing is, what's going on? What do you see that makes you say that? What else can you see? And that's what teachers work to ask these. Practicum, we had practicum to use these. There's various VTS. But the difference between VTS and ORID is that VTS is your initial judgment. And ORID, or the object-oriented learning, is about waiting on the judgment, considering everything before you judge. So we did an activity where we analyzed a painting. What do you see? What are the shapes and colors? What catches your attention? What gestures does the characters make? So I took down notes. I saw brown grass, abandoned seeming buildings, and a fence. The character was strewn on the grass a couple 100 feet away. How did you feel? What do the things you see remind you of? I got a sense of death, a sense of like a concentration camp, but also a sense of like mid-western prairies after a tornado. Is there a key insight? What is the message? Longing for the past is what I got from it. Do you value the work and why? Yes, it's very insightful and thought-provoking to guess why she laid in the grass looking back at her house. So that's aesthetic valuing and visual thinking strategies. I also have different digital notes that I took. This one was about myself as a learner and what intelligences I am most. So I said that I'm most musical intelligence, intrapersonal intelligence, and interpersonal intelligence. Another digital note that I took was habits of mind, assessment, adaptations. Our habit of mind skill was stretch and explore, and I explained how in this task, teachers can stretch and explore children to discover music and musical patterns and beats through modeling and scaffolding. And lastly, I have here my digital notes for the independent field trip that we took virtually. And I went to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama. And I noticed how there's different ways that I can integrate this field trip into a lesson, such as involving parts of creating, presenting, reflecting, and connecting. At the end, I have visuals from the internet about the rockets, the space shuttle, and various interactive programs.